Great, thank you. I just want to start out by kind of doing a brief overview about myself. I've been in this industry for about 30 years. Been with Imagine for 17. I am a certified Autodesk instructor in Revit and AutoCAD. I've had the joy of being on the services / reality capture services team for about 15 years now. That's just a little bit about me. Pat?
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. Patrick Colpoys, as Lori said, sales director here for Imagine It. I've been in the AEC and around the AEC industry for over 30 years, and here at Imagine It for going on 14, and have been a part of the sales team and leadership team on the reality capture side for the past 7 years.
All right, so looking here, this is just kind of an agenda overview. What is the RTC? Going to go through some different parts and pieces about the design, the physical part of it, the mobility, get into just a brief overview of the RTC workflows. But one of the important things that I want to do is talk about the Field 360 app and the new tools that are included with it. And then I'll turn it over to Mr. Colpoys and have him really take a deep dive into unlocking the ROI for this type of investment. So without further ado, what is the RTC? How does it work? What does a typical workflow look like? The RTC, I'm not an individual that's going to read word for word everything on the PowerPoint. But basically, the RTC is an amazing instrument. It's compact, lightweight. It is going to collect a lot of data in a very, very short amount of time. The amount of time that we spend in the field is going to be drastically reduced with better accuracies. Now, with the RTC, there's always some workflow with and behind the scenes that we need to work with. For instance, I want to be able to control that scanner. So we utilize what we call Field 360, which is an app that sits on iOS or Android devices. Smartphones can be used, and basically it's a controller. All that data is typically stored on the scanner, but we're using that Field 360 app to control that scanner, our settings, etc. Do I have to use a controller? Absolutely not. So many times I can go in to a job site, simply use the push button start, user interface on the side of the scanner, and be able to control it just as well as I can the Field 360 app. With that said, once we get back to the office, we have to process that data. All right. This is the workflow that is associated with the RTC. Register 360 has done a lot of enhancements over the past year or so. It is extremely fast. We've always heard that for every day that we spend in the field, we have to spend a day back in the office processing the data. That is nonsense. That does not happen anymore. Typically, it is a much faster workflow. Next slide. So getting into the generic parts and pieces of the work of the RTC, there's a lot to unbox here. All right. We're not going to cover every single option, but we're going to cover most of them. So go ahead, next slide. So looking at the physical size of the unit, all right, it's about, we're going to round up, it's about 5 inches by 9 inches by 9 inches. It is all an aluminum type material. So there are really the only plastic pieces that are on this unit are the 2 antennas that are located at the very top. It does have a quick mount stud that goes on to the tri-brack or the tripod that is coming with the unit. Now, a couple things about the unit It does have 2 batteries. The 2 batteries will get you about 4 hours or so of scanning. It comes with a total of 4 batteries. Next slide. Extremely mobile. I can't tell you how many times I've put this in the Leica backpack with the 4 batteries, the thumb drives, the tripod, the unit itself, everything that I need from a job site perspective, I'm carrying in my book bag. What's nice about this, that fits in the overhead very, very easily on airplanes. It goes on Amtrak trains. There's really not a mode of transportation that I've been on where I haven't, I've had an issue. It is extremely comfortable to wear. Yes, it's 11 pounds total with batteries and the unit and everything, but everything fits inside that book bag. Extremely portable. Next. Now, getting into a little bit more of the detailed specifics about this unit. We're looking at less than a 2-minute scan with a 1/4 inch density, with 6 millimeter at 10 meters. That is one of the fastest on the market. That includes taking the HDR imagery. And you'll notice that it does not have to have a third-party camera or third-party processing software to work with those images. It's all done inside of the Leica environment. The pictures are automatically placed once they're taken on the point cloud. So when I get back to the office, I process that data. It's all there. I don't have to do 2 types of processing. It is capturing up to 2 million points per second, that's a lot of data. The data is going to be a little bit larger than any other manufacturer. Rightfully so. We're capturing anywhere from 1.5 to 1 to 1.5 times the amount of data. So, a lot of other manufacturers go, oh, well, Leica data is massive. Not true. It is bigger. Yes, absolutely. But we're also capturing way more data. Range, typically it's 0.5 meter to 130. That is on the medium and low settings. That's an amazing range for that piece of equipment. One of the nice things about the unit that is actually one of my favorite features is being able to set that scanner up in the middle of a room. It's scanned. Then it identifies where it's at. And it does all of that based on the VIS system. That VIS system is going to, once I've done that first scan, I go to move it, it identifies where I'm at in that space based off that system. What it's doing is it's turning on its 5 cameras, and it is identifying the XYZ coordinates of all the sharp corners, the sharp edges that you see in that room. As I start to move, it is continuously adding those XYZ coordinates. So it is continuously tracking where I am and where I'm going. A lot of people go, well, why is that a big deal? Good question. Here's why. Number one, we all have been field surveying, and we come up to that one office where that individual goes, hey, you can't come in here. I'm busy. I'm getting on a call. You're going to need to come back. Okay. I go to the next office. I scan that. As I start doing that, it is capturing and placing that data accurately on my iPad or my Android device. Now that I've done that, and I continue my process of scanning that facility, by the time I get down the path a little bit, maybe that individual comes back and goes, hey, I'm done with my meeting. You can go back to my office. Great. Scanner's still on, still running. I've done the scans. I see where I missed. Now I can just simply walk back to that location, do that scan, and it's going to accurately place that data in that location. Then I just need to confirm my registration. So the Viz is helping me not only accurately position that data, but it's also letting me know, hey, you missed this area, by showing me there's a void there. And then on the iPad, it's just simply confirming the registration, making sure that it is what it's supposed to be. And then last but not least, our class 1 laser, it's invisible, safe. You know, I've been in a lot of different environments with this unit, and we've never had an issue. I've been fuel, oil, and gas, food grade locations, pretty much anywhere you can think of the scanner's been. Next. So we hit on this earlier. I do want to back up for just a second, and I want to add a blurb on temperature. The RTC will outwork you. I've had it, personally had it and done scans in negative 40-degree temperatures. And I've also had the unit in 110 to 115 degree June, July heat in Vegas. So it can handle the heat, it can handle the cold, probably better than we can. So keep that in mind as well. But again, like I said earlier, looking at the workflow, I'm just hitting on that topic again. It is one of the fastest scanners on the market for what it does, the amount of data that it collects, and the accuracy that it collects. The official accuracy on the RTC is 1.9 millimeter at 10 meter, which is a 1/16 of an inch at 33-ish feet. And it's all controlled with the Field 360 app and with the Register 360 software. Again, we scan it, we could push button, use it, we could use the Field 360 app on phone or iPad. We could also, once we've done that, we take it into the Cyclone Register 360, and that's going to complete the registration. And what I mean by that is, once it's imported, I take a look at it, I triangulate, I make sure that it is to my standard. Once that's done, now we're off and running. We can clean it, get it into CloudWorks for Revit, Navisworks, AutoCAD, BricsCAD, you know, any of the design softwares to restart recreating our models. Next slide. All right. So looking at Field 360, if you are a Leica user, you'll know that Field 360 just went through a major update. What I want to do is talk about the advantages of using the Field 360 and the RTC. I've hit on it a couple times, a little bit before, but the main thing that we want to do is be able to get in there while I'm on site and verify what I've done. That is going to be a big key to all of this, because what we want to do is we want to be on the site a lot less. And Mr. Copoise is going to go into this here in a little bit about return on investments. The less we're on site, the more money we're going to save, the more money we're going to end up making on the project. By using Field 360, what this is going to allow me to do is it's controlling the scanner. That's number one. Number two, I can perform my registration. Now, the scanner is going to place everything in where it's supposed to be. I'm going to confirm my registration. But what that allows is, as I confirm that registration, I can also begin to triangulate my scans, meaning, you know, scan number one, scan number two, they are registered together. Scan number three can register back to number one. Scan number one can register to number four. The more I start triangulating that, the more error that I'm going to start potentially taking out of my registration. That's been registration policy since day one. So being able to do that in the field while it is scanning, while I'm in the field working, that ensures a couple things. I don't miss things. When I get back to the office, I've already done 98, 99% of my registration. There's where my time starts to diminish back in the office, because now I'm not spending that one day in the field, one day in the office. Now I'm spending that one day in the field. I'm scanning and registering the data, and now I'm basically getting back to the office. I'm completing or finishing the data. So it makes it much, much simpler. It is a fantastic app. I've used it a tremendous amount. Very, very stable. Next slide. Now, as I mentioned before, when the Field 360 app was just released, the update, they've added quite a bit of things to this app. You know, on-site registration, that's been there for since day one. The ability to geo-reference a project, that is brand new, meaning that if I have control, you know, survey control set on site, I can bring in that survey control data into the Field 360 project, and now I can actually set that scan to control. It is a process. It is not something that is, you know, just wave a magic wand, hit an easy button, and there it is, it's done. You have to have the data. You have to have the target set up on the control so that we can assign and set that process up. It works very, very well. Asset tagging. We've done it in the past. It's become a little bit more streamlined. Some of the new things that they've done with asset tagging is I'm out laser scanning. The old version, we had a geotag, an asset of a pump motor nameplate. Well, maybe there was 2 or 3 nameplates that I need to capture for that pump or that electrical panel. There's 3 or 4 things I want to capture. Now I can have 3 or 4 assets attached to one asset tag, which is nice. Brand new. I know this has been a hot topic over the past couple weeks. I can now do floor flatness inside the Field 360 app. A lot of people really have taken advantage of that. Very, very simplistic to use. I go into a scan, set my parameters for my floor flatness, draw a rectangle around the area I want to do the floor flatness on, and it gives me a color mapping with the information about that right there at my fingertips in a matter of seconds. Quick Plan. Quick Plan has been around a little bit, but they're putting a new emphasis on it, really pushing it, where if I have a scan, I can actually go in, choose Quick Plan, and be able to simply start drawing a line. It's going to best fit on the points, and it's going to give me a 2D floor plan representation of that data using Apple Pencil. It's really, I have nubby little fingers, and I find it difficult, but as soon as I started using the Apple Pencil, I fell in love with the tool. Works very, very well. Measure, that's been around. The other thing, I can now directly upload to the Reality Capture Studio, Reality Cloud Studio, which is going to allow me to share that data with individuals, create mesh of that data, where those individuals can view it and or download it. Now, with all that said, I will say that the new Field 360 app is downloadable from the iOS store or Android Google store. If you want to look at the floor flatness, that is going to require a Field 360 Pro license. Let us know. We can help get you pricing for that and get you set up with those Pro edition. Next slide. All right, I'll turn it over to you, Pat.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff. I appreciate it. Great information. So again, good afternoon, everyone. Patrick Colpoys. So let's take what Jeff just discussed, right? The technical side and how it actually operates in the field and the way that it captures the data and can process the data. And let's talk about what the investment is, right? As leaders of the organizations, of your organization, you guys need to consider, you know, in this time of change, economic changes, with the talent shortage that has been coming up in the AEC industry, you know, what do we invest in, right? Where do we invest as principals and leaders of the firms? Where do we invest? Do we invest in new talent? Do we invest in bringing new people on? Do we invest in onboarding and ramping them up, or do we invest in some technology that might be able to get some jobs done that we've had 1, 2, 3 people doing in the past? So it's really important. And is there an opportunity for new business, right? Can we, through a technology investment, reduce our operating expenses, improve our workflow, potentially improve the deliverable, create higher customer satisfaction, maybe a new revenue stream, and higher profitability for the firm? As leaders, that's the goal, right? If it's employee owned, if it's owned by principals, or if it's an investment firm, ultimately, you know, bringing higher value to your clients and improving the profitability of the firm and retaining staff and being able to give them careers. Do we do that through more staff? Do we do that through more technology? So let's take a look at it. So historically, I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for 30 years, right? I've been around AEC, started in blueprinting. That tells you when I started. You know, we've done things that just create inefficiencies. We like to suffer in comfort, right? We do things that could be done better, but we've always done it this way. And when the data is disconnected, all that data that Jeff and the RTC can collect, you know, 2 million points per second, not all of that is going to end up in your Leica workflow, and less of it's going to even end up in your Autodesk workflow for your deliverable. But when data is disconnected, when we're using measuring tapes and notebooks and blueprints, if we want to go in and renovate an old school, and we know over the last 75 years that the East Corner has settled, right? Well, we don't know that, right? And if you go into the measuring tape in a notebook, even a laptop, and take photos with your phone, you're never going to know that. So how do we get to a point where we have accurate data and we have connected data to bring efficiency to the workflow, right? How many people are we putting in the field? How long does it take when you get back to the office? Does it bring us on schedule for the deliverables and our deadlines? And is it profitable for the firm? The ability to connect that, and you can see the RTC here in the center, the ability to do everything that Jeff was just talking about. Now we have to have the business outcome discussion. Does it make sense for your business? Does the investment in technology save you money? Does the investment in technology gain efficiencies of the intangibles, the inefficiencies that exist today? Do we streamline that process? Does it create higher customer satisfaction, higher quality, and does it lead to profitability on each project and client retention? So taking the technology approach and having it work for all of the trades that are on the project is really important, and we have to talk about, does it financially make sense for that investment to maybe displace something else that the firm could invest in. So why invest, right? I always talk about investment versus purchase, right? You can purchase a pet rock. There's not a whole lot of return on that. Or you can invest in something that you get back on. Real estate. You can invest in real estate. You can invest in stocks. Your expectation of that is not that it's going to sit on your shelf in the office, that you're going to get a return, that you're going to get something back beyond what you put into it. That is true with the Leica workflow and with the Leica technology. So let's talk about, on these three disciplines that I have here, what is the return on investment? What are the benefits to doing what Jeff just talked about, right? So first of all, going out with a tape measure in a notebook, you're not going to get down to a 1/16 of an inch with color photographs in 1 minute and 46 seconds, right? You're just not going to get that. And it's not going to be able to mesh room to room, as he was talking about, as you move around inside and outside the structure. So accurate data in high precision data, the efficiency to the workflow. Once you extract the relevant information out of that point cloud and you get it into the production in the firm and your collaboration with the other partners on the project, it's going to go much more smoothly. You have real data. You know that east corner settled over the last 75 years, so we can plan for materials and everything into the construction process. Risk mitigation, right? Mistakes are made. When we're working off bad information, right? I think it was said that you don't get in trouble for what you don't know. You get in trouble for what you think you know is absolutely right, but it's not. That's where we get into trouble. And we're working off data that simply isn't right. And we don't figure it out until we get into the engineering or the construction phase. And now there's litigation. And that's a big risk for all firms. And I want to say this, even though I have these categories under the headers of architecture, engineering, and construction, they're interchangeable, right? So we can talk about time efficiency. That applies to everybody. Can we do it in a shorter time? Can we do it in a more profitable way? Regulation, communication to the regulatory agencies that might be governing any project that you're on. Asset management, maintenance, right? Post-construction, right? If there's a opportunity to have a post-construction contract, if there's opportunity to sell the owner operator of the property a digital twin, right? That all leads to new opportunity, reduce costs for your firm, and also new revenues for your firm. And under construction, as a construction manager, as an owner's rep, number one, communication to the stakeholders, right? The investors want to know what the return on their investment is. They want to know that it's on budget and on schedule. And they want to know if there's any difficulties. And they also, as you guys know, they're going to be making changes. So having the accurate data, having it shared amongst the team, all leads to much more efficiency and profitability for everybody listed on here. Minimize delays and associated costs. We talked about that, right? Any change order, any delays cost money. Get into liquidated damages if we get too far off track, or we get rewards if we get early. The idea of investing in this kind of technology is that you can get more out of the field in less time with less people and reduce your costs while improving your efficiency and your profitability. And lastly, I have under, which is super important for construction, is safety, right? If there's OSHA questions and you guys have been scanning the site and they can see that the rails were up and they can see that the proper safety precautions were being taken and the safety officers were doing their job on the job site, then you guys are safe in that case, whatever that may be. So it serves many, many things. So you got to ask yourself the so what question, right? I was working with a principal many years ago, and so what, Pat? Right? So what that it does all this? Again, for each one of you and for each of your firms, we need to determine, does that investment make sense, right? Does the investment in new workflow have a better return on investment than hiring a single person that may or may not stay with the firm long term? We've never had a scanner leave a firm. So how do we monetize those benefits, right? How do we work on reducing our operating expenses? How do we gain competitive advantage, right? So if we have scanned, we're going to renovate an old factory, we're going to renovate a school. If we have accurate information and estimating right down to how much plaster, how many materials, what is it going to take, when you get into the design process and the engineering process, you're working off real information from the site. And when you use the scanner, you don't miss things, right? You simply don't. You don't miss the ramps or the handrails or whatever you may have to go back for. So it's really important that the automation of capturing everything and bringing it in through the point cloud, the workflow, leads to a whole lot of advantages that you can use as a competitive advantage when bidding and when estimating. So I talked about reducing the operating expenses, less manual tasks, less people in the field. We're going to talk about, show a couple of examples on the next couple of slides. Lower labor costs, right? Lower labor requirements. We don't need as many people to get a higher quality. And then the new revenue streams, right? How do we help you? And this is the best part of my job. How do I help you bring more value to your customer? I love talking to my customers, right? That's where the real value is. And how do we bring a scanning service to them, right? Somebody who didn't know that was available. How do we bring digital twin to them, right? The ability to, post-construction, be able to manage that property on the digital twin. I was out at SoFi Stadium near LA, and they have a full digital twin. I was geeking out on the stadium tour. My kids wanted me to stop talking about it, but they have a full digital twin and they're utilizing it. Huge value to them, huge value to owners, and we can help you guys explain the value of that and maybe create that service for you ongoing. And then monitoring, right? If it's a building that may be unstable, if it is dams, right? When people are out surveying dams, making sure that an ongoing survey, the scanner I'm going to use feet. Jeff used meters at 400 plus feet. Right, that's a safety issue. I've had engineers who are hanging off ropes the morning before our meeting, looking for cracks in dams. If you can do it from the shoreline of the scanner, same with mines, same with slurry walls. If they're holding up, to make sure that all the safety is there, again, for OSHA and for liability and for mitigating risk, it serves a lot of purposes that I hope you'll see reduces operating expenses and creates opportunity for the firm. So let's talk about the business outcomes. And this is just one example, and this is not everything. This is a sample that I want to offer up for you to consider. And all of this conversation today will lead to a future conversation with each one of you, because every scenario for each firm will be slightly different. So what does your current process cost? I ask that question several times a week, and several times a week I don't get an answer. Most people don't know what the actual process costs. So you've got to be able to estimate it. We can help you do that. So if a senior staff person in your firm is making $60 an hour, right, and a junior person is making $35, average across the United States, how many people are we putting in the field for reality capture? In the traditional way, we need supervision, right? We have measuring tapes, we have notebooks, we have laptops, we have phone cameras. So we're putting a senior person out there in the field. We're probably putting two, depending on the size of the project, we're putting two junior staff out there. So there's your cost, $130 an hour. And how many hours in the week is it going to take them? So we've calculated it's going to take 32 hours for what we're doing. So the labor costs alone are just short of $4,200. Plus related expenses, travel, so on. And this doesn't even consider the fact that in the traditional way, you typically miss things. Our customers on average are going back 2-3 times, and that's actually low, probably 4 or 5 times, because things were missed or they just don't believe the data and they have to go back. They don't remember where the picture was taken because it was taken on a different device on the phone. When the scanner captures those colored photographs, it's putting it right into the scan. So you have your point cloud with your photos. Also, being able to geotag if there's a fire hydrant at the front of the building and you guys need to know where that is rather than wondering where the picture was taken, geotag it, put it in. So here we're really just talking about labor and travel, right? So this is what the process is costing today as an example. And we're happy to do this for your firm with actual numbers. So let's talk about the reality capture process that Jeff just explained, right? So now we have the same staff, but not everyone's going to the field. So now these folks have been trained to do what Jeff just showed you, to run the scanner. I've run it, not overly complicated to run the scanner. On the iPad, you can confirm, did I get it, did I not get it? Right there on site, you can confirm that you have the data, that you didn't miss whatever detail that you know that you need to bring back. You can even share the information from the job site back to the office. So if the senior person's back at the office now, not supervising out in the field, but being productive and doing other things on the project, moving the project ahead, meeting deadlines, again, saving money and reaching goals, while the two junior folks are out in the field running the scanner, that information can be shared back to the office real time as it's captured on the iPad. So let's just go back one slide. We were at 4,500 total. Now we're 2,150, right? Again, an example, because you don't have your senior person out there. And it's not that they're not out there doing something for the firm. They're now in the office, they're meeting with the client, they're producing deliverables. So they're creating new revenues themselves while the team's out in the field capturing all this. So approximately in this example, a 53% savings, that's labor and travel only. What else are you getting from this? Right? What aren't we considering? The intangibles, right? You've confirmed the data on the iPad. You know it's accurate. You're getting high quality data that can come right into your Autodesk workflow, Revit, AutoCAD, Civil 3D, whatever it may be, wherever you're going, that the data can be transferred over. Integrated data, right? Like at Autodesk, and pictures and geotags, as I mentioned earlier, into the point cloud. So productivity gains, you own the point cloud. That's the other thing. If anyone on the call is outsourcing your scanning right now, I know owners of scanning companies, and the challenge that they have is they're not architects, they're not engineers, they're not general contractors. And when they do the scanning for you, first of all, you have to get on the list and be on their schedule, right? They finally get it in. If you want them to deliver a CAD or a Revit file, it typically will not be to your standards. And that's where the owners of the scanning companies call me. They say, Pat, I'm happy to scan for XYZ company, but I can never get their standards right. They're always getting mad at me. Could you go over and show them the Leica workflow? So this is a case where the firm is not going to buy the scanner, but they are going to invest in the workflow. So now they've outsourced it, right? The firm's not big enough or isn't justified to make the investment right now, maybe in a year or two, 6 months, whenever it may change. So they're not going to invest in the scanner right now, but they can invest in the Leica workflow. Have the scanning company do the scan, buy the entire point cloud so that you have access to everything. You don't have to pay the scanning company to go get you the handrails and the ramps and whatever you've forgotten to pull out. And then you can process it right there in your standards with your best practices, get it into your Autodesk workflow and improve your deliverable. So all of it leads to higher profitability, right? Everything we've talked about here leads to higher profitability for the firm, for the employees of the firm, and for the principals. So with that, the last slide that I have is, okay, it's $100,000, right? It's $110,000, let's just say, for the RTC with accessories. That will vary depending on what accessories that you want. The one thing I will tell you, Jeff mentioned the collar that connects the scanner to the tripod. Do not buy that on Amazon. We've had folks that buy a $100,000 scanner, buy a $5 collar, and it falls off the top, and they smash it, and it takes 6 months to fix. So don't cheap out. If you're going to invest, don't cheap out on the collar. That's what connects your biggest investment to the tripod and keeps it safe. So going to principals, right? If we're middle management or for senior management, we have to go to our fellow principals, we have to go to our board of directors, a CFO. How do we justify this? We understand we can reduce operating expenses. We understand that we can bring efficiency to the workflow that saves us money and generates opportunity and revenues on the project. We understand that we might be able to do a digital twin. We might be able to charge for the scanning service as well, to new revenues. We understand all that. But what's it going to cost? How can we afford this in the changes that are going on? Is it good for the firm? Some firms love to pay cash. They just want to do that. Put on a credit card, get the miles. Some folks want to just pay cash straight out. But if that's not your scenario, we work with Great America Financial, and they sent me this sample one today. This is just as of today, may vary, right? But look at what you could do here for 60 months, for 48 months, 36, 24. There are the current rates, and there's your current monthly payment, and they even break it down by hour, right? Because a lot of firms think that way. I did, right? I had the hourly rate for senior staff and junior staff. what's this going to cost us? We got to take it to the CFO, take it to the principals, and consider how do we pay for this. I like this. I like using other people's money when I can, right? When it makes sense. And it can pay for itself. Get it in, recognize the savings that we just talked about, recognize the revenue opportunities that we just talked about, and have it pay for itself, and your CFO and your principals will have predictable payments each month. They know what that unit cost them, and you guys can exceed this easily in the savings that we talked about. So that brings this to a conclusion. And if you guys have any questions, if you line them up, Lori, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. All right, well, thanks, Jeff, and thank you, Pat, so much for your time today, and thanks, everyone, for joining us. Again, my email address is in the chat. It's lelliott@rand.com. If you've got any questions following today and you're not sure where to go, if not, reach out to your Imagine It rep. And with that, have a great day, everyone.